So once you have the circuit wired up, we're going to start off in the void setup where you're going to write these lines here. This is going to cycle through every one of the pins on the Arduino and make sure that they're all outputs and they're all off to start off with. These are the functions that were shown at the start. Then once we get into the void loop, we want to start using digital write, and we can start determining pins that we want to turn on or off. So right now I have LEDs hooked up from pins through 8 to 13. So we can choose anything between 8 and 13 and we can turn it on. So I'll just turn on a few. And let's see what happens. So you can see as we press the reset button that we have no LEDs on to just pins 9 and 11. Now if we want to turn these off, we're going to want to do a digital write, pin 11 low, and let's see what happens when we just make them low straight after we make them high. Now this pin isn't flashing as good as it was because the Arduino is quickly cycling between turning it on and off, and it doesn't know which one to stick with. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a delay. We'll just throw the delay in the middle here and we'll give it 500 milliseconds, so half a second. We can now see that the LED is brighter, but it's not turning off. So now we have to put an actual delay after the low. So it turns on, it waits, it turns off, and then it waits again before turning it back on. So now when we upload this code, we should see the yellow LED blinking on and off, with the green LED being solid. And as you can see, we've got the yellow LED blinking on and off every half a second. So now that we have the basics of how to turn things on and off, what we're going to want to do is we've got access to for loops. We have while loops, and we have if statements that we can use to make our code more complex and more interesting. So the one that we're going to start off with is a for loop. And how a for loop works is you start off by initializing a variable, and we'll start it off at 8 because our first LED is on pin 8. We then want to say we're going to keep in this loop until the variable, we want to stay in this loop while the variable is less than 13. And then we want to, every time we loop around this, so each time that we hit the end of the loop, it's going to restart and it's going to go +1 to the variable. So the +1 means means increment. Now to turn everything on, we're going to go digital write. Instead of putting in say 10 or 12 or 13, we're just going to write var. So it's going to start off, when it loops the first time, var is going to be equal to 8, so it's going to put it in at 8. The second time it's going to be equal to 9, and so on and so forth. And then we want to turn them on. So this should just light up every light that we have. And we see now as we turn it on that all the lights light up except the end one. This is because the loop that we made goes until the variable is equal to less than 13 when it should be 14. Or we can do less than and equal to. And this means that while it's equal to 13, it'll still loop. So let's just try this code. And now we see all the pins light up. But we don't just want all the pins to light up, do we? We want to see a pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off at the greens and we're going to make our way to the reds one by one. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to add a delay so that they don't all light up in the milliseconds that it takes for the Arduino to cycle through. We're going to say we're going to have a 20 millisecond delay so that we can see it. Then we want to turn them off so that after 20 seconds it turns off and then instantly lights up the next one. We're going to use the same variable so it always turns off the light that it just turned on. So now we can see the light start at the green and push up to the red. Now we can do some interesting things, like we can add an almost reverse for loop of what we have already written. So we'll add another for loop just down here. So as soon as it leaves that for loop, it's going to come down here. Except this time we're going to start at pin 13. We're going to go until the variable, we're going to go while the variable is greater than and equal to 8. And each time we cycle around, we're actually going to minus 1. So the double minus means we're going to decrement. Then we're going to write a very similar code where we go digital right, the variable that we're putting in, we're going to start it off at high. We're going to have a delay. And why don't we come back a little bit faster at 100 milliseconds. And then we're going to want to write another digital right to just turn off the LEDs that we just turned on. So what this should do is it's going to send an LED up from the green to the red. It's then going to hit the end of the red and bounce back and hit the other green. And now we can see it slowly bouncing up and quickly bouncing back.